Hello, Brightway insurance candidates, AAO candidates. My name is Brandon. I'm an owner of a Brightway store in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I was asked to answer some questions, the most common questions that I get from potential candidates. So I do have a list right here of some of my questions that I get asked most frequently. And I think it'll answer or at least help you start asking even more detailed questions. Some of those things that are just bugging you that you just may not completely understand or may not have heard directly from a Brightway agent. I will say I do have a dog outside here with me, so I may have to throw a ball for him every now and then. He is our office manager, so he does need regular exercise and breaks. So I'm going to start with my background. I think that's the first question I always get, what brought me to Brightway? Well, I was a captive agent with an insurance company for about 7 years, and prior to that at the same company I worked catastrophe claims, and I brought a lot of that claims experience and that back-end knowledge of what happens with these contracts into my agency. So come here, Hudson, get over here. So after about 7 years, actually about 5 years into it, it was pretty clear that it was going to be a struggle to keep growing inside that agency because we had to spend so much effort on servicing, not only the organic servicing that came into the agency every day, but also fixing the mistakes of the enterprise after hours problems. So we had a significant service team constantly fixing things. And it was just apparent that it was not going to be a long-term career. So I started looking at Brightway approximately 3 to 4 years ago, and I reached out to a bunch of Brightway owners anonymously. I just called them up and said, I'm thinking of making a switch. Tell me about your experience. And out of 15 people, not a single person had anything negative to say. In fact, 3 in a row, and this sticks in my head, said that they could give me something negative, but they would have to make it up. And that always stuck with me, and it was a very powerful message coming from 3 random people that didn't know. I talked to somebody the other day on separate parts of the country. And when I called a competitor that was less to join, I got 3 very different outcomes of the conversation that were very similar, and they were not happy, they were not doing well, and they all basically had the same grumblings and negative things to say. So that made my research all worth it and my decision pretty easy. When you're making a decision on a long-term business that potentially has millions and millions and millions of dollars of income involved, don't make it based off of the amount of money to come into it, because if you do it right and you're working hard, that should not be any issue whatsoever. So why would I use Brightway and not start my own independent agency? I get this question almost every single time. So if I start my own independent agency, I have to work on getting all my own appointments with all these companies over a long period of time and prove that I can do it. Not a problem, but that takes a significant amount of time. And I also have to hire my own service staff. I did not want to be back in that position again. That was not a fun thing to do. And what I mean by that is, once you have a larger book and you have a lot of claims, you have a lot of changes, a lot of positive things sometimes, that costs a significant sum of money to maintain in an office on a micro level. And really how that works, especially in a very complex environment like Colorado Springs, is not only are you going to be selling in your office, but if you're completely independent, you're handling all your own claims, you're answering all those questions all the time. You are constantly making changes, which take a significant amount of time. And sometimes you have way too many people for the service coming in. Sometimes you don't have enough. You never get a balance in a small office, and it costs you a significant sum of money and time, which usually means you're not going to be making as much sales as I will when I have 0 service coming through the door. Hudson, come here. Another question I get, so how do I get business? Getting business is simple yet complex. I'll tell you, the first way you don't want to go about getting business in an insurance agency is just by one or two ways. A lot of people say, well, I just spend $15,000 on internet leads a month. Great, you can probably write a ton of business, but you're also going to have a ton of business walking out the door because number one, you've built no relationship. Number two, your lead vendors are going to send them an automatic shopping alert to go find somebody else. Usually regardless of how well you explain it on the front end that you can do all their shopping for them, they are still going to go look for another company just because that's what they're taught, and that is what that person is. They want to be hands-off, possibly non-relationship builder, and they're just going to go find the next cheapest thing, which, let me tell you, there is always a cheaper thing out there. That's not a good way to build your business, by just doing one or two things. So I always harp on, not only in our office, but when somebody's building a new office, and it doesn't matter what company you're with, this is insurance in general, you want a very diversified marketing approach. So if you draw out a pie graph and you put 30 different little slivers of pie, each one of those should be something that you're doing to build your business. Well, and that can be a little bit of lead generation. It can be some Google search engine optimization. It could be Google advertising. It can be mortgage referral relationships, realtor referral relationships, events that you're doing, blah, blah, blah. You can go on and on. The more slivers you have in your pie, the more successful you're going to be. And I don't think that's just related to Colorado. I think I could confidently say that's probably anywhere in the United States if you're building an insurance office. The more places you have business coming from, the more business you're going to have come in, and you're more resilient in low times. For example, if houses stop selling in your area, no big deal. You don't have to worry that you built your entire referral network on realtors. You still have 40, 50, 60, 70 other things bringing you in business. Because when one thing fails, usually it falls onto something else, and hopefully you're doing that. And that will keep a constant stream of business coming into your office, and you can just keep getting better and better and better and better and better at it, and building more and more relationships and doing things better and more efficiently over time. How do I pay employees? I think one of the biggest things is I try not to refer to the people in my office that are unrelated to me as employees. They're more of a partnership. We are all partners. We all should have the exact same ideas of where we want to be, not only personally but in our business, and that's making money, doing the right things, having fun, and that's a partnership. So we grow partners in my office for future offices, for just the ease of accountability. If you have to constantly micromanage your team and make sure that they are always doing things and pulling them in the direction you want to go in, and they don't want to go there, that's an employee. That's possibly somebody you don't want. So we empower our team members, our partners, to think like we do and see our vision, and we're very transparent in how every little thing works in the office. Right now, we've been meeting over the last couple of weeks on how much can we write per person in the office, and our goal right now is $80,000 in new premium, annualized new premium per week for the three main sales partners in our office, which would produce roughly $12 million in new business a year. We're not there yet, but we know that that is our goal, and we're slowly going to get there, and slowly meaning 4 to 6 months. We are every day focusing on the things that we need to do to get there. Let's see here. How do I pay employees? That's a good question. I do. Again, they are partners, so they come in as partners, not necessarily employees. So I pay them a set base amount of salary, and they get a commission. It's very simple. It's very easy. Brightway makes it ridiculously easy with their bi-monthly Excel sheets, so doing payroll is ridiculously simple. They love it. I love it. It's a win-win. And as they work towards that full partnership where we open up a second office and they run that office and their equity shares, they will get equity in the renewals of the business and and really flourish in that office, and then hire more partners for themselves inside that office. But it comes with empowering, and this is a very easy system to empower your partners and help them see what can possibly happen in the future, or I don't want to say possibly, what will happen in the future, and just making it a point to target what we need to do to get there. Our office structure right now is 5 sales members. 2 of them are our main sales team members, our partners, and we're selling all day long. We rarely get a service call, but we know that because we have a killer phone tree set up in our office, we are getting 99.9% of the time sales only that come through. That really lets us focus on selling. I'm going to go back to that service model inside of a regular independent agency that's not a Brightway agency, or a captive agency, one of your bigger companies out there that just sells their own product. When you have service come in and you have a service team and a sales team, inevitably your sales team ends up getting wrapped up in service somehow. It always happens. And if you want something to put the brakes on your production, open a service office. It's really good. You'll spend a ridiculous sum of money and you'll make less sales. That's what I lived for about 7 years. And without having the service come through, the hours that you're in the office, you are just selling. And that is so much more fun than servicing or troubleshooting the things that Brightway does for you. Let's see, how much business can you write per person per month? I think I just kind of went over that. Approximately 80,000 per week is our goal per person. If we average on a very good household $8,000 in annual premium, that is 10 households per week, and that is 2 per day. That is not impossible by any means. In fact, our minimum goal once we really get going is 80,000 per week per person. We're trying to overshoot that by a pretty large margin. What would I do differently if I opened my office? I can't really say I'd do too much differently. I would recommend when you're starting your office, get very good, personally as quick as you can, at navigating the systems. And once you know that, hire one person at a time and train that person so they can train the next person coming in, or at least assist in training that other person. That's what we did. I wouldn't change that for the world. That helped out a ton. The shared training responsibility is awesome because they get it from a couple different perspectives, and you build a more cohesive team that way. And we always say in our office, you can ask as many questions as you want, just don't keep asking the same question 10 times. That's a very important thing. Make sure your partners are learning with you and retaining it. If they're asking the same questions over and over, that becomes an issue later on. And then inevitably I get the questions, what are the negatives? I honestly don't have any negatives yet. We're all positive over here. Everything is just rocking and rolling. At this point right now, we're focused on writing about 200K per month, and we're growing and growing and growing that. We're writing bigger commercial, we're writing better households, we're turning down people that we don't want to bring into the Brightway family because we know they're going to be a hassle and they're not going to pay their bill. So that empowers the team and empowers me. And honestly, I don't have any negatives. And that's funny because I go back and I think about the conversations I had with other Brightway agents, and yep, it's the exact same thing. There's no negatives. So I hope that kind of helped in maybe answering some of those questions that maybe corporate representatives can't answer. They want you to get that answer from outside of that corporate level. But I can't tell you everything that they tell you on the front end is 100% accurate, and it is for sure not a free ride, but it doesn't get much easier than partnering with Brightway, where pretty much everything's set up for you. You don't have to go find your own carriers. In fact, you'll have so many on the front end that your head will spin for several weeks until you understand how that all works and can figure out what works in your market. So good luck to you. If there's any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to the corporate representatives. They can send you to the right people to get any more detailed questions. And good luck in your business.